All right. So this looks correct. It looks correct. It sounded pretty. It sounded pretty good. There might be a slight echo. But we won't know until we're done. So.
I didn't think about it. I should have had this guy set up. That probably would have been better. Maybe I need to get some headphones that plug directly in because the Bluetooth thing isn't working for some reason.
Yeah. It sounds like you're. What microphone are you using?
Macintosh.
Just a basic plug-in. All right. Well,
Yeah.
Next time I think you should use the microphone because it sounds like you sound like you're.
Let me see if I can find the cord. I can plug it in now. You can just edit this part out.
Yeah, I could. Sure. Or you keep talking and just, it's a long and winding road. I've run a crooked mile. I might fight.
What's it like living in Tennessee?
Oh, it's not bad. I've been doing a lot of work. I'm tired. It's amazing how hard it is to chop up a 30-foot pine tree after it's fallen.
Chainsaw, right?
I did. I had a chainsaw, and so I would cut the. I cut all the branches off, and I cut the trunk down into 16-inch slices or whatever. And now I'm trying to burn all the branches. So, but every day I work for now. Now your voice is not even. Now we got no sound at all. No, nothing. For those of you who don't realize, Bull is trying to connect his microphone, and now I'm getting no sound. There we go. There we
now?
Go.
Hey, cool.
All right. It sounds like the same microphone, though.
Really doesn't sound any better.
Different at all. There's
everything
probably
sucks.
go into your sound thing and change the microphone. But
what about if I do this thing? How's that?
Well, it did change a little bit. Not for the better.
How's that?
There we go.
How's that?
Good.
Not for the better?
No,
not for
good.
the better?
Yeah.
That's good?
All right.
Okay. Glad we got that.
So the last couple of days, I brought my burn barrel down, by the tree and got a burn permit and been burning branches. So that's my pine tree day.
Don't you have a fireplace?
It's not a wood burning fireplace. But all the wood from the trunk, I am splitting that and saving it as firewood, if we want to have a fire. And some of it, the really good pieces of trunk that I got, I'm going to split them into bulb length so I can wood turn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are you going to make? What are you going to make?
Or cups.
I feel like in Tennessee, in the rural areas, there's like a certain base level of recently turned wooden bowls, right? I think there's a lot of dudes that have moved there and are doing woodwork, and the first thing everyone does is a lathe. Lathes make sense, right? Like they're easy to understand. I remember using them in shop class in Alabama. I was like, "Holy crap! I've just made this cool thing."
Yeah, I like it. I haven't gotten to use it down here since I've been down here because I've been doing work like unpacking and stuff, and volunteering.
Ew.
Because my wife is making me.
Gross.
Should it be called volunteering if your wife is making you do it?
No.
What should it be called?
What do we call it?
Husband.
Involunteering is what it is.
Yeah.
But I mean, you guys need it, so it's good that you can do that.
Yeah, we were volunteering at a. All right, so, I live in the Hurricane Helene devastation area. Actually, when we got here, just to kind of go back to me a little bit, the tree, we had one tree that I showed you a picture of that fell on our fence and fell in our yard. That's the one tree I have to clean up. But I got the drone out to make sure that the roof was okay when I got here, and I went up on the mountain behind my house. About 20 or 30 trees up back there fell.
Oh wow!
And we had a little bit of a mudslide right behind the house that stopped a foot from the house.
Wow!
About 6 inches.
What's it going to do next time it rains?
Well, that's kind of what we're worried about. So. But it should be okay. Everything looks stable, So
it's kind of amazing that you moved to this part of Tennessee, and like the week that you actually permanently moved there, for the first time in all of history, it gets flooded by a hurricane, which makes no fucking sense because it's in the middle of the country.
Are you saying it was me that I brought this? I brought this horror.
You were Hurricane David, is what it was. Has there been a Hurricane, David?
Probably, yeah. I don't know. Probably one of the nicer ones.
You should know. It was a very polite hurricane. Stayed off the coast, yeah. Waved, brought fish. It was great. So what else is going on down there?
So we went down. So what they did was they set up a place in the old armory. There's a National Guard armory in town that is no longer a National Guard armory, but so it's still called the armory. And they set up there and started handing out necessities, water, diapers, whatever, food to people that needed help. And there was some of the churches were doing it and this and that. And so there's a group, it's called a hometown community something coalition, hometown service coalition, and they took over a storefront, and they're sort of combining all of the donations and stuff, and we were helping them sort through things today. So
it's cool.
Yeah, it's kind of nice. I don't know.
Feels good, doesn't it?
No, I would have rather been home doing my own stuff.
Fuck humanity.
I feel like you have to do it though, if you have the ability and the time and the.
I mean that's the social contract,
I guess. Sometimes I wish I could just be like one of those people who just says, no, I'm not. I'm going to take care of myself and nobody else.
What I did was I threw my back out, and that's worked for years. I'm like, I would love to help, but with my back, I can't lift anything, and I can't sit in that chair because it's not ergonomic. And I have gout, and I've got a bunch of other. I have my gallbladder out, and I'm falling apart. You guys don't want me to.
I found out today. I found something that I never knew. I am not allergic to wasp stings.
Ooh, you got stung by a wasp. Ooh.
And then
on your hand,
on my stomach, believe it or not, it somehow got under my shirt. And then I got it out and I stomped on it, and that freaking thing wouldn't die. I mean, I had to step on it 5 times to kill it.
Was it big? Was it big? That's probably a mud dauber, man. Those things are famously. Was it kind of blue?
I don't know. I didn't see a blue.
Yeah. Yeah, those things are awful. Right. I got bit by one on my eyelid when I was a kid, and my eyelid just covered my whole eye for like a week, and no one took pictures.
Yeah, back then they didn't have cell phone pictures.
Yeah.
All right. So what's been going on there, real quick? And then you had a topic that I've already forgotten, but I knew it was interesting when you brought it up yesterday.
What was my topic? Well, I ruined a iPhone upgrade.
Oh yeah.
By upgrading the wrong iPhone, and then I found out that I'm claustrophobic, or I should say, I remembered that I'm claustrophobic because I had to get an MRI.
Oh, that's right.
And,
that's what it was. Wait. Which one do you want to talk about first?
Not
the
good.
iPhone or the MRI?
I don't
All
care.
right, let's talk about the MRI because this was really amusing to me when you brought this up yesterday.
Amusing.
So you didn't know you were claustrophobic, or you forgot you were claustrophobic?
I forgot.
I mean, how often does it come up, right? I mean, how often do you?
Well, do you get scared in
How often are you in like
an elevator?
No, I don't have that kind of claustrophobia. I have. It's close confined. I mean, that is claustrophobia, but like elevators, no problem. Like a closet, no problem. But like when they tried to slide me into that.
Wait. Before you get to that, when were you in a closet with the door closed?
Well,
I never was. I'm just saying, I don't think it would bother me.
All right. Well, before next week, try that out. Go into a closet, close the door, and see what happens.
No.
And maybe
what if it does?
It.
What if it does make me?
All right. So go ahead. So you went to get. Why were you getting an MRI?
It's there's been some weirdness, since my operation, and they thought there might be this pocket of fluid sitting on top of where my gallbladder was. It's not. I'm fine. But so they ordered all these tests several months ago because you can't get a fucking test for months and months. And so I went in there and it was the MRI, and it was this other kind of really weird test that I've never seen before. That's kind of like an MRI, but really not. And you don't go into anything; it just lowers down on top of you.
That's an MRI for people with claustrophobia.
No, it wasn't that. If it was that, then I would have got the MRI. It was a totally different thing. Although awfully similar to an MRI. I mean, why couldn't they just use that? But anyway,
they told me the last time I got an MRI. They asked me if I had a problem with spaces because they had this MRI that they could do that was not enclosed.
Yeah, no one told me about
that. No one told me about that. Okay, let me tell the story. So I went into the hospital, and first of all, I parked in the wrong place. So I walked like 8 miles in the basement of the hospital to try to find the place I was going to. And so I finally got there, and I did all the paperwork and everything, and they led me back, and they got me into they put me on the bed, and she straps me on the bed, and she puts this vest over me, and she puts my arms down next to me, and they put in the IV, and they're about to put the fluid in, and she looks at me and she goes, "Don't move your arms." I'm like, well, that's interesting. And they slide me in, and she gives me this bulb, right? This, you can squeeze it. And she goes, if you can't take it, squeeze the bulb and I'll pull you out. I'm like, all right. So I got in, and dude, I wasn't even all the way in yet, but it was like right here on my nose, right? And like around I was very enclosed. And I just said, "Get me out." That was it. I don't even think I was in there 30 seconds. And it was like I'm not afraid very often. Like I can't remember the last time before this that I was actually afraid of something. And but it was bone deep, total fear. Just shaking, and I had to get out of there. And then I got upset because I'm like, well, what if? Well, I was embarrassed, and she goes, "It happens constantly." She goes, "Don't worry about it." And then when I told a friend of mine, he's like, "Yeah, it happened to me." And then I put it on Facebook, and like 8 people were like, "Yeah, it happens to me too." And then everyone's like, "Why didn't you get the open MRI?" I'm like, "Because no one told me it existed." Apparently, there's a walk-in MRI. And then they were like, "Why didn't they give you drugs?" I'm like, "No one offered me any drugs."
So what did they end up doing?
I didn't do an
MRI. I did a different test. I had 2 tests scheduled, so I did the second test, which was some kind of nuclear thing. I don't know. They injected me with some kind of stuff, and then they put me under a thing, and they took a picture. And apparently, I'm fine.
Oh, that's good.
But I didn't like being afraid, man. And as soon as it hit me, I'm like, God damn it! I should have remembered like the other 2 times in my life when I've been completely terrified because of a claustrophobic thing. Once when I was a kid, and once when I was in Egypt. And it's like I gotta remember. I gotta like tattoo it on my hand or something.
Well, it was funny because when you told me this, I've had like 2 or 3 MRIs in my life, and I loved them. I love being enclosed in that. Like, I mean, I was so relaxed, and the sound with the boom, 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 boom. I was falling asleep.
What the hell, Dave?
The only time I got worried about an MRI was after my accident because I have so much metal in my body, and I had to get an MRI.
Oh, yeah.
And so I like told every single person I came in contact with, just to let you know, I got pins here, I got a plate here, I got this and that. And they're like, oh no, the MRI, those are, it's only steel that it affects. Those will be fine. Those will be fine. And so, but I made sure I told every single person I dealt with. But then once I got in there and it didn't hurt, I was like, okay, that's fine. And I went to sleep. I really enjoy that feeling of being enclosed. It's like being in a sleeping bag or something, or in a cave.
The cave analogy is terrifying. So look, I actually have, and I should have thought about this too. I have a persistent and occasional conscious fear of like being trapped in like when you see those. I saw a news story of a woman who fell during just a touristy cave thing. It wasn't even a caving thing. She was just a tourist walking in the cave, and she fell off the path head first between two rocks and was stuck like that for 6 hours. I would die if that happened to me. That's an actual fear of mine.
I actually had a case where a guy died like that.
I mean, it will mess you up.
How is he upside down?
He was working in the sewer in his basement and went in head first and couldn't get himself out, and nobody was home to pull him out. He must have been there for hours.
Polish? Was he Polish?
Yeah.
Oh man. Ooh, he died that way and breathing those fumes too.
Yeah, that was sad. Took us 2 hours to find him.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, how did you know?
Well, we knew there was a body there because we could smell it. And the neighbor called and said they hadn't seen him for a few days, and that was unusual. So we went looking, and we could smell him, so we knew he was somewhere. And it took us a while to see his legs sticking out of the sewer. So
what an
interesting job that is. Well, the other thing I did this week was I screwed up a phone upgrade.
Yeah, that sounded
for many ways.
Well, you know what though? It seems I've upgraded phone. Okay, wait. I was going to say it. From what you told me, it seems like a simple mistake. I've almost made that same mistake a couple of times, but correcting the mistake, I don't understand. So go ahead, say what happened.
Well,
I thought. I read that the new iPhone has a much better video camera, and it can take really good up close, like micro close
videos. Yeah,
better than old iPhones, not better than any Android. But okay. And I do that ASMR channel. I'm like, well, that would be better for me. And I'm like, I haven't had a new phone in a long time, so I'm like, I'll just upgrade, So I checked it out to see, and if I turned my phone in, my upgrade was almost nothing. And I'm like, let's do this. And then what happened? Something happened, and I had to I put it in the basket, on AT&T, and then I got distracted, and I went away and everything, and I came back the next day, and I opened up AT&T, and it said, you're eligible for an upgrade. I'm like, I know. And I hit the button. It was the wrong phone. I upgraded my son's phone. So when the phone came in the mail, right? I open it up. I'm like, cool, here's my new phone. And I open up and I start going through all the process of setting it up. And it goes, is this your number? And it showed me a number. I'm like, no, that's not my number. Now, I don't know my son's phone number because I never dial it. I just hit his name, right? I think I've seen his phone number once in my life. Ever since then, it's just his name and his face. So when I saw the number, I didn't recognize it at all. And I didn't think that it's another phone on our... Anyway, so I upgraded. So later on, we're out to dinner, and we went to vote, and on the way, while we're in the place to vote, I'm in line forever and ever, and I think, well, we need to get Connor something to eat on the way home. So I texted him and I said, hey man, what do you want for supper? And 2 seconds later, my phone goes ding, and I look at it, I'm like, oh shit, because I got my text on that phone, and I'm like, damn it. And so I called my wife. I'm like, who are you getting this call from? She said, Connor. Why is Connor calling me? I'm like, oh my god. So I had to come home and tell Connor that I screwed his phone up, which bothered him not at all, did not care. And then I spent the next day
with customer service with these guys from Malaysia and Philippines and stuff. And normally I don't want to be a dick about that kind of stuff, but it wasn't a language barrier. It was a cultural barrier for me to explain that they just didn't quite understand what was going on, and I couldn't get it done right. And even now, I'm not done with it yet, because I'm going to send the whole thing back and start over, because it's too complicated to do it any other way. And I can't upgrade it completely, because now the phone that I was going to turn back in is my old phone, not Connor's old phone. So it wouldn't make any sense. But try to explain that to Kevin from Malaysia. It's not going to work.
But wait,
and then
what carrier do you use?
AT&T.
Why don't you go to the AT&T store?
What do you mean?
What do you mean?
Go to the AT&T store, they can take any phone and just switch the phone.
So they can do that if you have another phone that you can get a code sent to you on. But there's nobody else home. I couldn't get another code sent to me from anything. It's so complicated. And then when Colleen came home from work, I'm like, man, I had a fucking day. And I told her, it was when we were voting, and she goes, wait a minute. She goes, why did you upgrade your phone? And I'm like, I don't know. I just wanted a new one. She goes, well, how much is it going to cost? I'm like, next to nothing. She goes, are you sure? So today, when I went in and looked at it, it's going to cost me $1,300 because I can't trade in the correct phone. So there's no trade-in value. So I'm going to send the whole fucking thing back. And I feel like I'm just an old person talking about something that happened to me today. Now that I'm talking to you, I hear it. Like, is this the rest of our life, Dave? Is us complaining about stuff that is mundane?
Wow, we have time to do that, All right, you want to talk about something else?
You have time to do that.
You have time to do that. I'm busy as shit, man. I'm getting more and more work all the time when I don't need more and more work, but the money's
I'm trying
good,
to figure out
still.
how we can monetize this channel. So if you have any ideas,
it's a matter of constantly uploading stuff. That's all it is. My other channel fell off. It was so close to getting monetized, and then I went in the hospital, and I haven't been able to bring it back since then. And the reason it was doing well was constant uploading.
We're not getting any views, so we got to try and get people to see it. If we get some more views, I don't know. There was some I don't know. There's some way we can get like sponsors or something, and I don't know. Let's see.
Well, the first thing that happens is you get monetized by YouTube, and that's the quickest thing to get. You can't get sponsors if you're not already monetized on YouTube. So the first thing happens is YouTube pays you. Once YouTube pays you,
need 1,000 subscribers.
Go ahead.
We only have 30.
You need no, you don't. You need 500. You need 500 subscribers.
We only have 30.
Well, that's 30 more than we had recently. So I mean, put it on Facebook and stuff like that. It'll come through. But I think for me, what the place where I've seen the most growth for my other channel and for my clients is through YouTube Shorts.
Yeah.
And
if you get a good YouTube short going and you connect it to another video, the promotion on YouTube Shorts is huge. So if I wasn't so busy, I'd be doing a lot more YouTube Shorts, but I'm slammed, man. Like as soon as I hang up with you, I've got to, I got to put a roast in the oven, and then I got to come and make a video for Attorney at Work.
It never ends, Dave.
It never ends, Dave.
All right. Hey, can we talk about politics for a minute?
Only
if you understand that I'm going to get angry.
I don't think so. But really, I mean, I'm not interested in debating politics or arguing politics. I'm interested in what you really think. Well, I mean, I'm interested in what Democrats think of or why Democrats think a certain way.
Well, I mean, do you think that I
represent all Democrats? Because I know you don't represent all Republicans.
No, but I think you represent philosophically some.
All right, what are you talking about?
What are you talking about? What are you asking?
I'm wondering why Democrats think that it's such a bad thing that Donald Trump discussed Arnold Palmer's penile prowess.
So I think that that's something that would be okay in private, even in private with some friends or stuff. But as a representative of the United States, it's utterly and completely inappropriate. That's why the guy is at work.
I mean, when I heard that,
and he's representing our nation.
That, I was like, I can't, for people who find it so offensive, I can't think of a guy who would be offended by somebody going, I tell you something, I've seen him in the shower. He's all man, that guy.
That is, we've all had that conversation because we've all seen somebody just stopped us in our tracks, in something like that. We're like, holy shit, But the thing is, when you're on the national stage, that is not a conversation you should have unless you're a stand-up comic, and he's not. He's running for an office that's supposed to be, dignified and professional, and one of the most important offices on earth.
Get here that way. He got here by being a stand-up comic and a reality show guy. That doesn't matter. It's still inappropriate, and it just shows he just doesn't really get where he's at, or he doesn't care, or he thinks that it is a stand-up comedy stage. I don't know. I saw a great video today of Donald Trump on The View and Whoopi Goldberg and Joy Behar giving him a hug and a kiss and talking about how wonderful he is and he should run for president.
Oh wow!
Oh wow! I know when he decided to run for president, and that was when it was Seth Meyers at the foreign nationalist convention that they have every year, where a Canadian the foreign correspondents dinner in Washington, and it's always some name comedian that does the thing. And that year, Donald Trump was there, and Seth Meyers made a joke about him running for president. I'm telling you, that was the moment that fucking Donald Trump says, "Really? Fuck you! I'll do it." In his mind, that's what he said. I know it is.
You have. It's funny if you look for him, you can find these videos of people telling him he should run for president. David Letterman had him on when he was, God, it had to be back in the 80s. He was doing something with the Central Park ice skating thing. Yeah. And he was talking about, you should run for president if you think you can do it. And that's going back in the 80s. So,
the other thing about the Arnold Palmer thing is this. The thing that Donald Trump he talks about things that make people angry, but he doesn't talk about them from the point of view of policy. He only talks about them from the point of view of making people angry. I don't think he understands policy at all. I've never heard him explain a policy ever. And so it's bad enough that he doesn't do that. And then he's up there and he's talking about Arnold Palmer's dick. Why isn't he telling people why they should vote for him, and why isn't he telling people, this is what I feel about this policy? In fact, the guy that was interviewing was trying to but why isn't he?
You know what though? He does answer those questions. It's just that he does stuff like this that gets the media talking. So I don't think he answers those questions, Dave, because I don't think he understands at all what any of those things mean at all. I don't think he understands a single solitary thing about governance and governing and what it means to do that. Well, I could say the same thing about. I could say the same thing about Harris. I don't think she really understands what's going on.
You could put them up. You could put the things they said out loud side by side. And Harris is her understanding of policy and of governance has been proven
right.
over and
I
over
would disagree
again.
with that.
I mean, I know people.
I would agree with you about. I would agree with you about Donald Trump, but to a certain extent, it's you hear what you want to hear. I think that they're both. When it comes to talking about serious policy and running the government, I do think that both of them are idiotic when it comes to that. But I have a hard time applying that word to Harris, and it's not because I'm a Democrat. It's an objective observance of her. She really is talking about policy. She's been governing forever. She knows how to do that, and she's done a good job most of the time. I know people are like, no, she didn't do a good job, but when you look at
when you look at the facts of what she did, she has actually completed her. She's made things happen that improve the lives of all Americans, and it's not just an opinion thing where Democrats like she's doing great, and with nothing to show. There's a list. You can look at the list of the things that she's put through.
I don't think she hasn't said anything in specificity of what she would do if she was elected. And
I think that is, Dave. I think that is really. I don't think that's true at all. Every time I listen to her, she is very specific about what she's going to do.
Specific. And then when somebody said, "Well, like she talked about, well, we're going to lower prices at the grocery store," and then the person will be like, "Well, but if you what do you do if you can't get it through Congress?" "Oh, we have to get it through Congress." Okay, but you're not. You're not going to win. The Democrats aren't going to win this.
She can't explain how to get it through Congress. She can't explain that until she starts doing it.
I think a lot of times people do. I've heard a lot of other candidates say it. Maybe not these two, but I've heard a lot of other candidates say.
Did they say that?
Explain how.
Did they say exactly how they're going to do it? Because that's just crazy. What? Are you still there? I don't think any candidate is going to stand up there, except I think Obama did it, and some people are like, please stop talking. But no one's going to say step 1, step 2, step 3, and step 4 and when they're campaigning. For one thing, you don't know what the steps are going to be until you begin the process, because part of the process is strategy. So you have to, when it's time for you to do that, then you have to do the strategy. She's not going to lower grocery prices at 2:00 the day after she gets elected. It's going to be a while because government is very slow, which is another thing no one seems to fucking understand. Government is designed to operate slowly. It is not a quick fix ever, unless there's an emergency. Grocery prices are bad, but they're certainly not a fucking emergency.
I agree with you about that, and it's too bad that we as a society have forgotten that, because it seems like no matter who gets elected, they expect something to happen right away.
They forget that the truth is government is the home for the world's most persistent nerds. That's what government is, and that's what it should be, because you want people whose very existence is that you want people that just get absolutely thrilled to go through an actuarial document line by line. That's who you want.
That's
in
not
government.
Who we get. Paul Ryan was that guy. No, he's out of government.
That's not true at all. That's not true at all. That's not who we get in
elective office.
In high-profile public offices. But behind the scenes, the entire government is made up of people like that. People that are doing jobs that no one's even heard of. The guys that are inspecting peaches in Georgia. Those guys do a hell of a good job, and they do it constantly, consistently. And it's a thankless job. Nobody even knows who they are, but it is a government job, and it's one of those things where it is dull. And it is line by line actuarial type of stuff. But because they do that, we have safe peaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I agree with that.
But that's the kind of policy that I think people forget about. They forget that happens, and they also forget that they are the government. Jesus fucking Christ. I never understand.
I'll tell you, one of the things that I watched, Mark Halperin has a show called on Two Way YouTube channel. And one of the things he's been saying during every show about this election, he's starting to get really worried about the fact that half the people in this country have to realize that the other guy is going to win. You got to get yourself mentally prepared to lose.
Yeah, that's true.
I made a joke about it a couple weeks ago. We talked about, since I wasn't going to be there for election night, could you get a videotape into your house so I can watch what would happen if Donald Trump wins?
My wife's not going to be here.
It's just more your sister-in-law and them that I would be interested in.
Yeah.
But
no one's
you know what we should do? We should do a live election night podcast starting at like 10 o'clock. So we can get you crying and sobbing.
Yeah, no, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so.
But do you think about that? I mean, do you think about the fact of what would happen? Like, you're a Democrat, you want Harris to win. Do you think about what do you think will happen if Trump wins?
I don't think very many good things are going to happen.
And I'm not talking about what Trump will do. I'm not talking about his inauguration.
Oh.
I'm talking about in the days and maybe 2 weeks after the election, before he takes office. That's another thing, man. People keep thinking that the day you win the election is the day you take office. Where the hell did that? Why do people not realize it's 2 months afterward?
People just don't think about shit. People are poorly educated anymore. I don't know what's going to happen. If Trump wins, I know that there's half the country is going to be extremely upset. And I think that of that group of people, there's going to be a small handful of them that are going to be probably demonstratively upset. There'll probably be protests, and there'll probably be
looting,
stuff that is good for the news, you know. But I think you'll see a new a lot of people moving.
I don't think so. Every year, every election, you get the group of people, movie stars. Oh, if he gets elected or she gets elected, I'm moving out. Nah, they ain't gonna move out. The only one that's
I think those people should have.
The only one that's ever done that is Randy Quaid, and he went crazy.
He was crazy to start with. I think if somebody makes that statement, that they have to follow through on it. It's only fair, right? You know, if you've got the stage and you say what you're going to do, and then it happens, you're like, oh well, you know, you should fucking have to go. But I know that in my household, it's going to be very bad, and you know, it's going to be a lot of me having to talk my wife down off the ledge, because she is convinced that it's going to be the beginning of the Fourth Reich if he gets elected. I have greater faith in the army of nerds in our government. I think the army of nerds is going to prevent anything bad happening. I think the army of nerds are there to sort of preserve the functionality of government. But I think at the surface of it, it's going to be a lot of ugly shit. I
wouldn't call army of nerds, but I think we have what I would say laws and guardrails in place. I mean, first of all, you know, the whole thing about, you know, what the Democrats are saying about how he's Hitler and he's going to take over the country is obviously false. Although I do think some people are crazy enough to believe it, but you know, it's one thing to say that about somebody who hasn't been in office, but it's another thing to say we already have 4 years of knowledge what he'll do in office. He's not Hitler, and
Well, he says some things that echo Hitler, though. You know, when he talks about the enemy from within, that's some scary stuff, man.
But that's a phrase. That's a phrase, and it's taken completely out of context, and it doesn't mean
not taken out of context. It's not taken context at all. He is talking about people that disagreed with him. It's not taken out of context. He really did say that.
He said that as part of a paragraph, and that line was completely taken out of context. He was talking about
no way. It means exactly what it means.
And like
you know, and how far out of context do you think you can take it, Dave?
It's like
Kamala Harris. It's not a good thing to say. What context is it okay?
What he was talking about was the fact that we don't have to worry. Listen, Abraham Lincoln once said that the only way America is going to fall is if we destroy it ourselves, people from within. And what he was saying is we don't have to worry about foreign countries coming and attacking us. We have to worry about the people that are destroying our country inside the country. And that's something that I've always believed too.
Who do you think he's talking about?
I think he's talking about people who would riot and destroy things. And when the question was asked is what happens on election night if there are protests and riots? And he says, well, that's what we have to worry about. We don't have to worry about somebody trying to come and destroy our country. We have to worry about the people that are going to riot and destroy stuff. And that's where he brought up the National Guard and the military. And, you know, here Kamala Harris talking about, he wants to turn the military on people. He was talking about what Joe Biden's going to do on election night if there are riots in the streets. That's all. And you know what? And everything that you can always take stuff like that out of context. You know, they do it to him all the time.
I think if he gets elected president, that it's going to be a nightmare and a catastrophe. for the country because I don't think that he is a leader. I don't at all. I think he's a failed businessman, and I think that he is a celebrity, and I think he's out over his skis because he's a celebrity. And I don't think that he's going to do a good job. I didn't think he did a great job last time, and I don't think he'll do a very good job again. And people are like, he's Hitler and all this stuff. There's worse stuff than that, and that is the people that are going to come in with him. And a lot of those people are pretty bad too. And I don't think they're very. The people that were surrounding him don't strike me as good Americans. They strike me as
the enemy from
opportunistic.
I mean, don't you think talking about him as being Hitler and stuff, and the people around him as being Hitler, isn't that the same thing as saying the enemy from within? Now, I will grant you, but I would say this about any politician, that half the people that they surround themselves with are in it just for the power, and you can't trust them. I agree with you on that. But I would also say that about anybody. I mean, there's only one party in this country that has gone after their political opponents, and it's not Donald Trump.
This is when I don't want to turn this into a political.
I really just wanted
podcast.
to talk about Arnold Palmer's junk because I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I think it was. It was sad, It
sounds like something we would say, though.
Because okay, Dave, it is, but we're not the president.
I could be president. I could
know
be
what I
a good
mean?
president.
You would be a good president, but that's the difference. If you were president, you wouldn't do that.
I say stuff like that. I say, I don't say stuff like that, but I mean,
it's just, and yeah, by the way, no, you don't. You and I don't engage in what's called locker room. We've never done that, ever. I think the closest we ever got was we might talk about a strip club one time, but both of us were talking about how much we didn't like
clubs. I had a great idea.
Oh, no. What is
mimes in strip clubs. We should start a strip club that has mimes. People love mimes.
So they don't actually take off.
No, they're already naked.
Why mimes? What does it matter?
I just thought about mimes and strip clubs.
So it's a strip club for deaf people? Is what you're saying?
That'd be cool too. Speaking of deaf people at shows, there was who's that guy with the puppets? Jeff Dunham. Jeff Dunham does a skit where he's talking about how he was doing a show, and there was a woman who was facing the audience and doing sign language, and he realized like halfway through the show that there was a group of deaf people down there, and so she was signing everything he was saying and everything the puppets were saying. And so at one point he just stopped talking, but he kept moving the puppets, and so she couldn't see what he was doing, and she just knew there wasn't any talking. And meanwhile, all the deaf people are looking up at him, who looks like the puppets are still talking, and she's just standing there. And I was like, "Oh, that was hilarious!" I was laughing so hard.
That is something we would do for sure.
Wait. All right, so I had another topic. I have to find my topics.
I stay out of politics as much as I can because I can't keep up and I don't really care that much. And but I love shows. I love fictional TV shows about politics if they're good. And man, if you haven't watched The Diplomat,
I watched the first episode, and I didn't get into it after that.
Yeah. Oh man, is it good? I love it. It is one of the most well-written TV shows ever. The next time we do this, you gotta be somewhere else because the fans are making me have an epileptic fit.
We started watching a show called High Potential.
Oh yeah. That's good, right?
So that was pretty good.
Based on a French
on Hulu.
It's based on a French show of the same name but in French, and almost the same exact. Like I watched the first episode of the French version, and like the same exact stuff happens. But it's got the girl from Everything's Sunny in Philadelphia, or Always Sunny in Philadelphia on there, and boy, is she good at it. It's kind of like, remember Monk?
Yeah.
he was just a genius all the time, and he could figure it's the whole Sherlock thing is what it is. Which by the way, Sherlock wasn't the first detective like that. There was one before him. Can't remember the name. But I have some friends who belong to a Sherlock Holmes society. I hope they don't listen to this podcast, because I got to tell you, I have never run into a group of people that were as baffling as those people.
Baffling as in they didn't know, you couldn't understand them, or
no,
or they were baffled by everything.
No, just the level. I mean, that's the opposite of Sherlock, right? The level of geek that they achieved, and how much they were really into the world of Sherlock Holmes. It just, I couldn't understand it. Like, okay, they're good books and everything, but I don't understand people that do that, right? I don't understand the idea of pretending to be part of a world that someone created in a book.
Yeah, like Harry Potter. You know, you go around pretending you're doing magic or carrying a wand around.
I mean, I've seen people do it, man. And cosplaying, I understand a little bit, all right, because you're going to go to a convention and you want to dress up like your character. That's cool. But like these people in the Sherlock thing, like their newsletter is all about they kind of are pretending that they're contemporaries of Sherlock Holmes, right? Like he's just outside of the room. That's the kind of the mindset that they have all the time. And it's just, and the arguments are like only 3 people in the world can understand what the hell they're arguing about. And it's just it's so completely weird. And they're some of the smartest people I know, man, but I don't get that level of if I was an author that had a book out that had built the world and people were like dressing up as the characters, I would be really touched by that. But if there are people like literally living it a little bit, I would suggest maybe they seek therapy.
You know, another thing we watched the other day, rewatched, was the Truman Show. I don't think it's been years since I watched it. And I looked it up. There is a Truman Show mental health issue, or there was right after it.
Truman Syndrome.
And that was interesting. But we were also, me and Annie got into a discussion over who could he sue? I mean, we would love to have seen a sequel where it's like after he got out of that and all the lawsuits and everything that he did against people, you know. First of all, like, we were starting coming up with questions like, does his diploma count? I mean, is that a real school?
Oh shit, man. You know, that show was rough. I know it was a comedy and everything, but it was kind of rough because for those of us who are dedicated to simulacrum theorem, it was a fuck with you movie. But I think what would be cool in the sequel is for all the people that were making the show to find out they're also in a Truman Show, and it's just a succession of Truman Show situations going on forever.
I think you could make, aside from what I'd be interested to find out the answers to questions we came up with, I think that it would have been a good idea for a sequel, because I think that once he gets into the real world, there's going to come a time where he's like, I wish I could go back. You know? I made a mistake.
Yeah.
Like the real world.
Like the real world is tough. And he'll come back through that same door. You know what I mean?
Maybe go visit the set and be like, I shouldn't have left.
He's like, this is good. Everything was fine. My life was great, even with my fake wife.
All right. Well, I think that's where we should end it then, since we came to a natural end right there.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Well, we'll see how this worked out, and I'll see if I can tweak the setup a little bit better for next time. For one thing, we're a little bit, our view is a little different because you have a different camera than I do.
Can we think, you know what else? I think this is probably a bad idea too, is I just realized the whole time I had the light shining in the camera.
What
do you think about doing a thematic show where we talk about, like, part of the show is us talking about one thing that has got a lot of SEO stuff to it.
You
know what I mean?
Any themes you want to come up with. I was going to start posting a little. You know what? I made a bunch of those shorts which are not getting any views because I think I might have done something wrong. Like the three things. We came up with goofy things. 3 things to use toilet paper or whatever. But I was thinking, I did one that was 5 things to do to avoid depression. I think we should come up with lists like that.
Yeah.
And then we can title the show that.
We can
also do the shorts ourselves, like this.
You can film a short right here.
You can film a short right here. All right. Well, I'll try to come up with that stuff, and you try not to burn things down when you're taking care of all that extra wood.
All right, I will see you next week. Wait, let me hit.
All right, later on.
Outgoing, okay.